Hello, and thanks for watching another edition of ARFCOM News. Today I want to tell you about this based representative who walked right through a metal detector, spooky boy ghost gun bans in Virginia and Maryland, and how federal gun control laws could be rendered void in Texas and Missouri, plus lots more. But before we get started, I want to tell you about the cruelty-free, gluten-free, non-GMO, zero trans fat night vision products offered to you by our friends at tnvc.com, just like Mom used to make. If you like seeing stuff more than not seeing stuff, take a look at our sponsor, tnvc.com, your source for quality night vision gear to make you the bump in the night. So before we dig into the actual news, I just want to bring you a little something to brighten your day. These Pakistani operators be operating on the next level. They see me rolling. I mean, at this point, what if Red Power Ranger here just turned around and ran back up the stairs? Do Pakistani cops get to just blast on fools? How did he get that dude on the ground? Hey, I'm doing a Tosh.0. The Reno PD finally created a position for Terry. So glad they're finally being inclusive. I have to admit though, I really want to see one of them scoot around like Wally, but with a 240 Bravo. Our first story is really about how the legacy media gets things so badly wrong. Remember I told you about Sith Lord Nancy Pelosi promising to fine House members $5,000 for walking around metal detectors? At the same time, I mentioned there was an unconfirmed report Representative Lauren Boebert set off a metal detector. Well, Newsweek has reported Boebert as well as Representative Andy Biggs both set off metal detectors based on tweets from Florida Republican Matt Gaetz and two journalists. Newsweek also says Representatives Louis Gohmert and Van Taylor from Texas, Steve Stivers from Ohio, Debbie Lesko from Arizona, and Larry Bouchon from Indiana all refused to pass through a metal detector or spoke vociferously against the intrusion.
Then we walk around the metal detector.
But that's not the fun part. The fun part is the headline, which reads, Lauren Boebert faces $5,000 fine after setting off Capitol metal detector. Except according to Newspeak, Pelosi said she would fine representatives for bypassing metal detectors. Boebert did no such thing. She just walked right on through like she owned the place. Can't fine you for walking around it if you go straight through, right? Speaking of metal detectors, Virginia is trying to reinvent the wheel by passing a state law which basically does what the Federal Undetectable Firearms Act did way back in 1988. Long before John McClane tried to BS an airport cop about porcelain Glock 7s, Congress passed a bill which made it illegal to make, sell, or possess a gun with less than 3.7 ounces of metal in it. So why is Virginia trying to make this even more illegal? Do they not know that this is already a law? While I'm sure they're betting voters won't notice, the politicians who wrote this bill definitely know because they copied that oddly precise amount of metallic material for their state bill. No, the real purpose of this state law is to altogether ban the home manufacture of firearms using 80% receivers or 3D printing. They know it's already illegal to make or have undetectable guns. They just want to use that as an excuse to ban homemade guns. If you think that's some scummy scum from scummy scumbags and want to help stop Virginia from its futile attempt to stop the signal, pause the video right now and call 804-698-1500 and ask to speak to one of the wide selection of politicrators at the Virginia Assembly. Tell them HB 7276 is a gross violation of the United States Constitution, the Virginia Constitution, and fundamental human rights. Tell them it will not save anyone's life, but does pave the way for intolerable infringements. So-called ghost guns are just the latest boogeyman used by confiscationist control freaks to push their authoritarian agenda. They wring their hands and clutch their pearls while whimpering about how 80% lowers and 3D printed guns might be used by criminals while conveniently ignoring how illegal that would be anyway. Maybe while they're at it, they'll make it illegal to trade stolen guns for crack. Guns are almost entirely outlawed in Australia, yet it's common for biker gangs to build homemade Ludi-style submachine guns in their garage. Because if you're gonna pass go, you may as well collect the $200. If guns are illegal, may as well crank out full auto bullet hoses, right? Of course, You classy folks already know the real reason, the only real reason someone would want to ban homemade guns is that homemade guns totally undermine the idea of gun control in the first place. If people can just print a gun at home or drop a billet in their desktop CNC machine, what's the point of trying to ban anything? And from their perspective, it makes perfect sense to ban homemade guns now rather than wait for the industry supporting homemade guns to mature and for designs to be refined by a large user base. But what doesn't make any sense at all, and I'm talking full window-licking, pants-on-head, smooth-brain stupid, I'm talking we're reaching levels of pure, uncut Colombian weapons-grade stupid, which shouldn't even be possible kind of stupid. What makes literally zero sense at all to anyone is the dumbass idea Montgomery County, Maryland Council Vice President Gabe Albornoz came up with. He wants to make it illegal to have a so-called ghost gun within 100 yards of a church or to make one in the presence of a child.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
I am honestly having trouble properly ridiculing this stupidity. I want to give it the derision it deserves, I really do, but it is so profoundly stupid, I literally don't even know where to start.
Well, my days of not taking you seriously are certainly coming to a middle.
Like, is Albornoz worried the child will become possessed by the dark magic used to craft this kind of sorcery? How could you possibly know if I made my undocumented firearm in the presence of a child? Why would I admit my kids were in the room when I made the gun? Is it going to be illegal to make a gun if you have kids at all? How would they prove the kid was present? Will CPS take my kids if I own a spooky boy? What caused Albornoz to become worried about this in particular? How could you possibly enforce this? I have so many questions. As unfathomably stupid as his proposal is, Albornoz seems to believe he has unanimous support for it on the council. I'd like to put that to the test, so I'm going to ask you to really go out of your way this time. Please pause the video and call each of the council members listed here, including good old Gabe, and tell them this proposal is just plain dumb. Tell them it is a waste of time, cannot possibly serve any benefit to anyone, and is nothing more than a transparent attempt to annoy gun owners. What if the control freaks passed a law and no one enforced it? That's the idea behind HB 919 before the Texas legislature. If passed, it would prohibit state, county, or municipal agencies from enforcing federal gun control laws passed after September of this year. This strategy is one of the most powerful tools the people have against an overbearing state. The feds simply don't have the resources to enforce draconian laws themselves. Notwithstanding any basement dweller fanfic regarding door-to-door confiscations, the way federal gun control actually works is local police departments and sheriff's offices do most of the real police work, investigating crimes and apprehending violators. Without that cooperation, the feds would have little ability to enforce unconstitutional laws. Ultimately, we would still have to wait for the courts to rule against the illegitimate laws, but at least there wouldn't be as many people getting locked up unjustly in the first place. If you want to do your part to help get this bill passed, go to house.texas.gov/members, choose a representative, and tell them to support HB 901. The bill was just filed at the end of December, though, and has not been assigned to a committee yet, so be sure to check back in with them in a couple of weeks. If you think Texas is cool for giving the feds the finger, Missouri is even more of a baller. Their sanctuary laws won't just render future infringements void, it will consider all federal gun laws invalid, including the 1934 NFA. It also provides a mechanism to sue anyone, including federal agents, for violating the Second Amendment rights of Missourians. It explicitly states that qualified immunity shall not be considered an affirmative defense in suits arising from such actions. Now, I'm not a lawyer because there are some things I wouldn't do for a Klondike bar, so I have no idea how successful you could be suing a federal agent in state courts, or what would happen if you won, but I know I want to see it happen. If you are willing to do your part to get SB 39 passed in Missouri, call each of these committee members and urge them to move the bill forward for a vote. Tell them SB 39 is critical to protect good people from bad laws. Tell them it shouldn't be necessary, but rogue agencies are unchecked at the federal level and are rewriting legislation arbitrarily, while Congress appears poised to pass new draconian restrictions in spite of their obvious unconstitutionality. Industry news! Vigilance Rifles has announced their new Model 20 chambered in 9mm, which is available either as a carbine or pistol. It has a hinged top cover, which is also where the fixed integral irons are located, as well as the optic rail. The website says it is built to take ProMag magazines, although they look like Glock mags to me. It also comes with a muzzle brake installed, which should help to tame the fierce 9mm recoil. It may look like a heavy chunk, but according to their website, well, actually, the weight isn't listed, but I'm sure it isn't that heavy. I mean, yes, it's milled from a solid billet of, well, the website doesn't actually say what the material is used either, but it does say it is considered military spec. I'm not sure what specification they're talking about, but it does look dummy thick. The saying goes that you can leave 3 anvils alone with a group of privates, and when you come back in an hour, one of them will be missing, one of them will be broken, and one will be pregnant. I'm not sure if the saying is referring to the anvils or the privates, but this thing does look like it could survive an hour alone in a room with some bored soldiers. I want to pick on this thing for its 80s soldier of fortune aesthetic. I want to pick on this guy in the photo for using an ACOG on a pistol caliber carbine and squinting his weak side eye while looking through the RMR, but ultimately, none of that really matters. What matters is whether this thing runs and whether the fit, finish, and quality control are consistent with the $1,700 price tag. From the photos, it does look to be well made, but I don't know what it can offer to stand above the sea of other PCCs. Well, friends, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoy watching these things because I sure like making them for you. If you want to help us keep bringing you banger content like this, please support the folks who support us. Not only does TNVC.com carry a wide selection of low-carb, fat-free, non-GMO night vision products, they also have mounts, lights, and all sorts of other gear to make you the bump in the night. And if you want to support us more directly, you can buy fly shirts like this one in our Teespring store. Or, if you'd prefer to try your luck and see if you can win your choice of rad shirt from our Teespring store, post a comment containing the phrase, "I am completely out of ammo." That's never happened to me before, in the YouTube comments, and I will arbitrarily and unilaterally choose the best one. I love you.